right, so we're going to talk about the power of mentoring. If you know anything about me, you know this is really one of my favorite subjects. And we're going to deal this morning with Paul and Timothy. And the quote where Paul said to Timothy, "Fan into flame the gift of God." Because I believe here is where mentoring begins to lie. You know, the power of mentoring really is seeing something in someone that they don't see themselves. Are you with me? Yes. The power of mentoring is seeing something in someone else that they may not see themselves, and then you, as the mentor, help to bring it out of them. You got it? So we all could be mentors, you know. Just in case you didn't know. You can be a mentor. Say, I can be a mentor. Say, even though I'm insecure, I can still be a mentor. Oh, you didn't say that very convincingly. I still can be a mentor. All right, good, good. See, a mentor, they call something out in you. They challenge you. They pull away from you at times so you can fall and learn. They give you a timely tip before you go off the cliff. You following me? They resource you with money, with books, with people, and love to help you grow in the area you need to grow in. And they release you. Here's the key. They release you to do that which you're called to do, even though it may bring sadness to the relationship. You see, if you've mentored and you've done that part, you realize the joy of being involved in someone's life. But you also know the sadness of when that person doesn't need really your mentoring anymore and they're ready to step out on their own. You have to step back and let them go. That's one of the amazing things about mentoring is when you see this person go and fly without you. There's a quote I love. I don't know who the author is. But it says this, "Ah, great it is to believe the dream as we stand in youth by the starry stream. But a greater thing is to live life through and say at the end, the dream came true." Isn't that wonderful? And see, depending on what side of the dream you're standing on, depends on where you stand in this little poem. You see, for a lot of young people, they have somebody who might be a few years ahead of them mentoring them. And the younger people who are new to the dream, you don't have to be young. It could be a young dream, okay? Because I still want to dream, all right? I still want to be by the starry streams gazing into the future, you understand. So, but we're all at one place or sometimes another place. And depending where you're at, you're helping or being helped to find your dream and to live it. Amen? And we all want to dream, don't we? So mentoring is a way we fulfill the Great Commission. The Bible calls it the Great Commission. Go therefore into the earth, you know, baptizing people, getting them saved, training them, so on and so forth, and releasing them. Mentoring is how we do that. And then I always have a thing in my mind when I'm mentoring somebody personally. The first thing is I try to model what I'm mentoring the person on, okay? Second of all, I meditate on that, meaning I meditate on what I'm trying to teach them, and I have them meditate on what I'm modeling for them, okay? Does that make sense to you? Then thirdly, I monitor the person's progress. Okay, so as you're mentoring somebody, if they're not getting something, you want to know that so you can help them. Or if they're getting something, you don't want to keep telling them the same message because then they're going to get bored with you. Okay, so you want to monitor what's going on. You want to motivate the person. You know, there's going to be times when that person just doesn't feel like they can do it. Amen? You've been there. I have. It's kind of like the first time I picked up a guitar and I played a D chord. Man, I thought I was something special. I wrote 20 songs on a D chord. My mentor said, you know what? They're not very good songs. Oh, what are you talking about? They're from my heart. Well, he said, well, they could be from your heart, but they're not very good yet. Okay? And then he encouraged me to continue to grow and challenge me to learn a G chord. Then I had 2 chords to work with. And I wrote 30 songs. You get the idea. So, you know, we're here to motivate each other along the way. And then also, the last part is, you can do it. You can do it. There you go. Just like you can do it. And that's the key to mentoring. That's the full circle. And if we have a stop along the way and 5 of these principles, then usually the person you're mentoring has a little bit of a hole. That makes sense? I guess, does that make sense? You have a hole in the mentoring? Doesn't make sense? Okay, so for instance, if you don't motivate somebody, right, then they become demotivated and they may not continue on in the mentoring process. So at each phase, there's something for us to do to help the person we're mentoring. If they don't think about what you're modeling for them, if they don't meditate on what you're modeling for them, they'll never know you're actually modeling it for them because they won't think about it. They won't ponder it. They won't consider it. They won't understand what you're modeling for them. So each of these steps, you know, we have to kind of do them and then teach through those steps. So hopefully that's a little bit better. Okay. So fan into flame the gift of God. That's what we're going to focus on. And we're focusing on the 2 books in Timothy. Okay, 1 Timothy and 2 Timothy. I'm going to teach you about 2 books in about 30 minutes. Okay? It's not going to be thorough. I just want you to know it's not going to be thorough. But I have a few points I want to extrapolate out of them for you both. The first thing to understand is this. The purpose of 1 Timothy, this was when Paul was a church planter. Okay, if you don't know who Paul was, he was a church planter. He went around and started churches. Then after he started a church, he would find a group of people, and he would set the group of people in the church to run and take over the church. We call them pastors. So Paul would start the church, get it moving, get it going, and then find the gifted ones to pastor the church and leave them there to pastor the church. So 1 Timothy was about Paul on his 4th journey. He had a couple journeys going on where he went to different churches and started new churches. On his 4th one, he said to Timothy, Timothy, I want you to stay here and do this church. Timothy seemed to be pretty okay with it at that point in time. He said, okay, Paul. And Paul was going to come back. So he said, you stay here, you do the church, and I'll come back. So Paul left on his journey. A couple years. Listen, love this, a couple years. I'll be right back. 3 years later, okay, 3 years later, Paul writes 2 Timothy. From prison, the 2nd time in prison, where he's under Nero, and he's going to have a hard time or probably never make it back. And so the 2nd book of Timothy is about simply Paul saying, Timothy, guess what? I'm not coming back. And you can see in the context of each letter the different attitudes, the different things he deals with Timothy on. The first one was kind of like Timothy seemed to have a little bit of excitement. I'm ready to go. I'm young, but I'm ready to go. Get going. And then the 2nd book of Timothy is about, hey, Timothy, you just keep going. You're doing a great job. You're going to make it. Don't be ashamed of what you're doing. Keep going. Keep going. Fan in the flame. Remember the gifts that we prayed over you for. So the 2nd book of Timothy is more of an encouragement to keep going because now Timothy's there. You with me? Okay.